Today's another budget dollar store prop build. Very budgeted. In fact, $1.25. Let's go. Hey, how's it going? Anthony Fro here, Great Sci-Fi. Well, today another dollar store prop, but there's a little more to it than this. So this is a play phone. Pretty neat. And I think we could do something cool with this, and it is just $1.25. Again, I don't know why they still call it the dollar store. But this one is very interesting. This was sent to me by Brian Perkins. So I've been doing the subscriber spotlight, and a couple weeks ago, I sent out a gun that I got from the dollar store because it was a 2-pack. So I'll show you here. So I modded this gun. And then I had the second one, and I do have people, send me their pictures and stuff for the subscriber spotlight. The email is below. So Brian Perkins, I sent him the gun, and he modded it because he won the drawing, and he sent me back this, right? He did an amazing job. I didn't expect for him to send it back to me, and that's pretty amazing. And also, he sent me some other goodies, and let me just showcase some more of his work here that he sent to me. But he also sent me this. And I think his piece, this one here, is this. So I was like, oh, I can do something with this. So what I want to demonstrate with this is something that comes up a lot. So in Wakener, one of the main characters had this wrist communicator, right? And because I also do the VFX myself, whenever you're going to do screen replacement, you can put like green in there and replace it. But it turns out in post, it's kind of a nightmare. But basically what I do is I make a static screen. When the actor's just moving around with it, there's something there. It's like a dummy thing. And then the one instance when you do have to animate it, you just have to do that, but you don't have to animate it the whole time when they're dragging around. It'll make more sense once I make it. So thank you, Brian Perkins, and I'm going to demonstrate that with this that he gifted to me. We'll make it into something sci-fi. All right, let's get into the build. All right, I think this is the most toy-looking toy that we've ever put on the bench. Now, off camera, I thought I filmed it, but I didn't. Like, every time I'm touching this thing, it's beep boop bopping. Like, it works. It's like a dollar toy. And I've had a harder time. I don't know if you remember all those 80 toys that I was modding into props. Oh my goodness. None of those, forget about it. Just try to fix them. And here's this dollar store thing I'm covering in alcohol and paint and sandpaper, and it still was at the very end. It stopped working, but it's pretty impressive. But anyway, I'm dealing with the sticker here. You're all going to tell me your different techniques for taking off the stickers. I appreciate them all. I try them all. I'm just working with what's on hand. The isopropyl alcohol on this, not working. A little bit of heat, plastic razor blade, more ISO. This was just one of those days, one of those pieces. Now, I knew I was going to be covering this up, so I wasn't too concerned about it. I was more focused on around the edges where I knew that it wouldn't be being recovered. But I got it pretty close, and I don't know, it was just one of those things. Some things just peel right off. Sometimes, I use my techniques. I don't know. But moving on. So now there's just some injection molding stuff like fake buttons and things like that, which sometimes I lean into them. Sometimes, in this case, I thought, let me get rid of it because I knew I wanted to add some foam on the back of it. So here I'm still sanding. Had to get a little more aggressive. I think I put like 100 grit on that sanding stick. More alcohol. So you're seeing a theme here. And again, yeah, I'm sure there's better ways. I've done better ways. I've had success, but this was what this was about, right? So you got to go with it. But now I'm into my 220. That's my safe space. That's my happy place. Sanding's not my happy place, but 220 is my, not too hot, not too cold, but just right. So then here, I don't know if you notice I switched palm sanders. These are just like palm sanders from Temu. They're great. And that one has like the hard edge as opposed to the round one. And then, as I usually do, I go from sandpaper to the Scotch-Brite, and that's just more to make sure I covered all the surfaces. And then I got smart in my old age here. I was like, oh, let me do it like this, on a flat surface. And the buttons started popping off when I was doing this. And again, those buttons, they're still working. So, I don't know. Cheap electronics, but they still have evolved. So, I don't know. More isopropyl alcohol? Yeah. You're just trying, right? And then the air, and I'm just trying. I'm trying my best, people. And again, it's going to be fine once I cover all this up. But there it is, warts and all. This was my day. So with little things like this lately, if you notice on the channel, I've been just using this plastic wood putty. But it's plastic. It happens fast. Again, depending on what the prop was used for, this is just kind of like a hobby, sort of put on standby for another film I have coming up if I need something like this. So I didn't go full on Bondo, and they're like little holes, and it's fine. I like using that filler because it's pink, and then it turns like wood color, like a tan, so you know that it's dry. So, you could use baking soda and super glue to fill those things. But now I'm just masking off. You'll notice what was that really dirty, sticky spot. But that's what I'm saying eventually is going to get covered by a piece of foam. That we'll get into that in a little bit. So now I'm just going to tape a piece of wire to this place that I masked off. And that'll just allow me through the various painting. I like to do the plastic adhesion promoter, and then a primer, and then a gloss black. Now I'm doing gloss black because I intend on doing a graphite treatment on this. I love that. But we'll see. It goes a little sideways, but we'll see. So now I'm just going to do some laser cutouts. I'm doing these graphics in Photoshop. I don't go into detail. I do create these from scratch, but, you're not here for a Photoshop tutorial. I'm just showing you that I just go into my Photoshop, I create these simple vectors, and then on my laser cutter, I print these out, and they look great. And if this was 3 years ago, I would photocopy it, I would tape it onto the foam, I would cut this all out by hand. I've done that before. But as I said, I have a laser cutter, so I use it, right? I didn't have one for 10 years, and I just cut it out. I don't know why I always have an embarrassment of riches with my tools, but, you can still do this. And then here, it's important to see that for this effect that I'm going for, it actually works better when your inkjet printer is on its last leg, and it's kind of got that, like, gradation. So here I'm taking a piece of gel. You can use, I've used plastic from, like, transparent, like, Trapper Keeper folders before and stuff. But gel is pretty easy to find. And what this is going to do, it's going to give the illusion that there's an electronics in there, and you're just seeing the reflection of the static screen. And that's why I like using this technique. And like I said, if we go close up on it, we can animate it. But for 90% of the time, if you're cosplaying or in a film and just walking around with this thing in your hand, a little glimpse of that photocopy under the plastic is going to make it look like it's like an LCD screen. And then here I'm wiping this off with water off camera. For some reason, I never got a piece of gel dirty before, and I wiped it off with isopropyl, and all the tint and color came off. It was really interesting. So, yeah, use water. So here I'm cutting this out. These measurements are exact because I'm basically making a sandwich with the foam, the gel, the laser printout, and then the piece itself. So here, I'm just lining everything up. And even, you see I'm lining that up, but just even as we're doing this, you can see, I think this is pretty effective. Let me know in the comments. And then now, the only thing that was a little touch and go with this is that frame on the sides and the top is a little thin, so I didn't want it to get all wobbly, and I didn't want to get glue everywhere. So I think that came together. Again, just cleaning it up with water, being careful. Now, when things are little and skinny, this is when I start to destroy stuff. Not on purpose, but stuff happens. So here we're sandwiching it all together, and then you're starting to get a little preview of what I'm going for. And now we're going to attach it. So like I said, I have this masking on here so I can have that tacky, scuffed up surface once we do all these processes. So like I said, I'm starting with the graphite. And the graphite looks nice. I'm very happy with this look. I'm gonna go in a different direction, but you could just stay here on the graphite. I'm gonna end up doing a weathering, and I'm gonna lose all this graphite look. But people wonder, so it is a phenomenon, like with the graphite, like once you really buff it out, you don't really get the residue on your fingers. It's hard to believe, but it's true. But if you hit it with a clear, it has to be like a gloss, crystal clear, and you'll maintain that. But you'll see here, I'm going to do my weathering, and I'm going to hit it with a flat, which is basically going to make it black again. But the reason is, you know, I'm that age where my parents would say, this is why we can't have nice things. So as you'll see, and as you've seen many times on my channel, my intention was a pristine piece, and it ends up becoming weathered. So here we're going to work on these foam inserts. I cut out another couple of pieces, these triangles and the circle, just so I can add like faux buttons on it. And I'm going to hit these with the rub and buff. Should like paint them with like Plasti Dip and then silver paint, but I was like, these little things, I'm going to hit it with a rub and buff. And then I am going to put a crystal clear on this. But these are just little buttons and knobs that I used from the excerpts of the cutout. It just gives it a dimensionality, you'll see there in a moment. And here I'm just hitting it with a crystal clear to make it look more like buttons. And then I cut some extra ones, but these won't come out. So I'm like, how do I get these out of here? And I'm like, oh, yeah, my book. You can read it to see why and how I do all this stuff and my philosophies. Or, you know, you can just check out my book so you can cut apart foam. Put the links in the description. So here, again, I'm full on with the rub and buff. I mean, with the graphite. And I got a little piece of tape on the logo there because once it cut out, it's going to get all wonky, and I want it to stay together. So I got a little Gorilla adhesive here, spray adhesive. I prefer the M77, right? But I got Gorilla Glue now for a while. And there, that tape is just keeping that logo all sort of uniformed. In hindsight, I should have cut out all the extra material before I glued it down, but I don't know what I was thinking. But, you know, it's the back. It's fine, but this is the first indication that, well, I might end up weathering this. And here I just have a scrap piece of gel on hand, and I'm using that so I can really get aggressive pressing all this down, and it won't stick to my hands. And that, you know, that's working. It's looking good. It's looking good. Then the graphite. So here, you know, I'm just toothing this up because I'm going to put the face on there. And I really want this to be clean and nice. But you didn't notice the bottom and the back. I don't know if you notice. It was a little chewed up. So I was like, well, I can make that look like weathering. Again, just thinking out loud. So here's some barge rubber cement because I want to use this to put on these little buttons. And this is where it kind of starts to go like a little wonky for me. I think, I'm not sure where it happened, but I'm always trying to do this finesse work, right? I'm always trying, people. I'm always trying. And it just never, I'm a lumbering dude. And I'm trying, and you see there, like, there's those little, I can see, like, little pieces of silver flecking off, but it's okay. I don't think I've given up yet. So now I'm going to Gorilla Glue this. Gorilla Glue, say that 5 times fast. This to the front. And it's definitely what I imagined. And I'm liking that. Again, using the gel so it doesn't stick to my hands. And so here's my first attempt to salvage the little bit of coloring outside the lines, if you will. And that's, that's good. That's what it's going to look like. And I'm going to do my button trick that I love. I use nail polish to paint these buttons. What I like about it is it's so thick and viscous, is that the right word? That you get like, it makes it look more like a button. And blue and white I like to use because that's sort of like, if you notice in Star Wars, all the buttons are blue and white, so it's kind of a homage to that. And then a little red one in the middle. So that's looking nice. We got the graphite. We got the nice buttons. Look at that. It's looking good. But the closer I look at it, it's like it's all boogery around the buttons. Not as pristine as I was imagining. So now I'm going to weather it. So what I'm doing here, and again, you could stop and not do this process and not go into the weathering. I always feel the need to mention that, but I'm sharing with you my process. So here I'm just putting a little tape on here, and the reason I ripped the edges because I want it to look filthy, but I want it to look like the screen was wiped off. We don't want to lose that work we did to get that mock screen, so this will kind of keep it clean, but also with the torn edges it makes it look like it's been weathered. So there you see I hit it with a matte and now it's black. I mean, I could have hit it with a gloss prior to putting on the foam and it would have kept that sheen, but I'm giving you options. I'm all about options. And you can even see there in the reflection how that oh, look at me with my little pointer stick. So you can see how, right, it's not a crisp edge, so it looks good. So now because we went from the graphite to the black, I'm going to do a little bit of a silver dry brush because I do feel like, how many times do you drop your phone? So whatever this Sci-Fi device is, I'm sure it's gotten kicked around, left on a control panel, knocked on the ground, kicked down the space hallway. Right? There's always the graded floors. Maybe an alien tried to chew on it. So there. So now also this is giving me the opportunity to OCD to correct all those little boogery things, I guess I'm calling them in this video. And that's just a flat black. And that's just where, little things that were caught on my finger maybe went somewhere they weren't supposed to, which is typically the case. And here, just you'll notice I like to not cut this out because it's the layering of the matte clear is important because every step is reversible until after the clear, right? So it seals it in. So that way, if I did something wrong in step 4, I'm not going to erase steps 3, 2, and 1. Does that compute? So here I'm doing a black wash, and if you've been following me lately, what I do is I'm going to blot this out. I'm not going to wipe it off. I would do that typically with like a thinner sort of model kit wash. But for props, I like that I just do this mottling, and then once I get an interesting pattern, then it kind of locks in with the hairdryer. Because it evaporates it, flashes it off, leaves like the residue, which is what I wanted. And then again, that'll be followed up by another layer of the clear to lock that in. And then the good thing is it's starting to tamp down those buttons, like that bright white and red buttons. Your eyes would go right to it, but through the weathering process, they start to disappear. So here I do my random colors. I grab some gold and some green, and then the Umbra, which is the greasy water-based oil paints, which give it that sort of rusty look that I like. And these greens and golds, it's whatever color I have on hand. 90% of it I'm going to wipe away, but it just sort of breaks up the look, gives it... I've kind of inadvertently created a look that I kind of lean into, but that was by trying to give it a non-look, but go figure. So here I'm just working on the buttons, little silver. This is this is always the moment where it's like you're inches from going too far. Here I'm putting on, like I said, that rust color always looks good to me. Same thing around the corners, wherever it's heavily weathered or dry brushed silver, I put it in there. And then here, this is like everything, countertop and screen, everything's got crud in the corners. So that's my artificial crud in the corners. Looks cruddy. If you like me with the weathering, yes, looks lived in. Looks like it had a life. Looks like a real object. And more matte clear. So I use these skewers for everything. And now I'm going to hit it with a nicotine spray. Instead of this, you could use a wash with like Umbra, the way I did the black. You could skip this all together. I just like the drip. And I especially like the nicotine spray when it's things like white buttons. It's really good for that. And you'll see there, it's water-based, and I put it on drippy like that on purpose so that it just gives it a little like a little rust drip, like it ran down from the crevices. And wait, more clear? Yes, more clear. And using the air to take off that sticker kind of sells it a little more. And again, just going to clean it up a little with water. And also when I'm cleaning this up, when I do my when I do my method acting prop building, I put myself in the mind of the owner of this, where it's like, oh, I got to clean off the screen or else my boss is going to yell at me. So here, like I said, I always make a mess. So I've been watching these guys who fix watches, and they always have like these single finger rubber gloves. So I thought, oh, maybe if I do that, I won't get silver rub and buff everywhere. Because this is the final rub and buff where I just bring back a little bit of the edges that we lost by doing all of those layers of matte and coloring and stuff like that. So I historically, and I do it again somewhere, where I get a little bit of rub and buff where I didn't want it. Always happens. But luckily, I've taken the position where I just go with it. Otherwise, I make myself crazy. But yeah, this is a pretty cool piece. Like I said, a viewer sent me the phone, so that made that kind of cool. So it wasn't something I went and picked up. It was more kind of dealing with what I got. So that was fun. A little bit of air. Final thing, and some beauty shots coming up. There it is. Beauty, I don't know, that's a relative, but some focused on hero shots of the piece, and that reflection's still working. That's the back of it, just a little interest. So yeah, digging that screen, and let's marvel at it for a moment, because it kind of works. It's analog digital. Yeah, that came out cool. Big thank you to Brian Perkins for sending me that. It was unexpected. Much appreciated. People do ask to send me stuff, but he snuck it in there, and I appreciate it. So yeah, and again, send me your pictures for the subscriber spotlight. But very happy with that. Came out really cool. And like I said, this is a practical, right? So if I'm talking and I'm doing this stuff and you're doing that, like you only catch a glimpse of it. And if that was like green, every time you see it, I have to go in there and change it. But this way, let's fire it up and I'll show you, I'll give you a demonstration of what I would do, right? So the actor's got this in their hand and this is the blah, blah, blah that's going to do the la, la, la and the da, da, da. And he's like, okay, Captain, let me check. And yeah, and then he's back in the world. It's going around. You don't worry about it. Very simple, very effective. And that was a fun one. And I've been doing lots of things lately with the United Corporations of Earth logo. A lot of you are aware of that. I've noticed in the comments that you've been playing along. But now these past couple builds, I'll show you here, I have like a little stockpile of these. And what these details do, like, I'm editing Starfisher right now, and I have like little buttons, little things, like here. Well, you can't see this, it's off camera, but like the symbol, right? All these little things, when I'm editing, they're just kind of, just in the background or on his coat or something, but it just ties it together and it elevates it. So yeah. So anyway, like if you like this stuff, go check out the eBay. Lots of the props that I make on this channel are for sale there. They help support and help me to make other films. There's some screen use stuff on there as well. Be sure to email me if you want to be part of the email list, or if you want to share some pictures of stuff that you've made. Check out the Patreon, all this stuff. Subscribe, check out the merch, buy my book. Big thank you to the Patreons. But remember, at the end of the day, I'm just here to help make sci-fi.
Hey, I'm just the avatar, but you might want to check out this video, maybe that video. For sure, subscribe if you haven't, and check out the merch. Buy some merch, that really helps. But hey, what do I know? I'm just the avatar.